Maria Claudia Lacouture, you serve as Executive Director of AmCham Colombia. Prior to that role, you were also the Minister of Commerce, Industry, and Tourism. Also prior to that, President of ProColombia between 2010 and 2016. Maria Claudia, maybe I'd like to actually start with some of your thoughts on Mac's comments that he just made with regard to what's needed to spur economic growth in the region.
Well, first, allow me to thank you, Adrian, for the invitation. It's always an honor to be here and a pleasure to share this panel with Mac. This is a very important issue that today for many of the countries in Latin America is a must. So one of the things that we have to understand is that many of the aspirations of the United States as a country depends of a prosperous and democratic atmosphere. Likewise, much of Latin America aspiration require a committed and open neighbor to the north, meaning that it's a win-win situation that today is confronting many challenges. We're facing in a scenario of a region that is being hit very hard by the pandemic with high levels of indebtedness, a complex social environment that will generate friction in the political process that are coming, and above all, an uneven and weak economic recovery. Countries will need a strong fiscal adjustment for the economies to generate growth, which can only happen if there is certainty in the control of the pandemic. And I agree with Mac that there is a must, like a number one issue that have to be provided, that is the vaccine, a massive vaccination for everyone in Latin America in order to generate and start the certainty of recovery the economies in Latin America. That is why I believe that the steps to be taken in the relation with the United States should be emphasizing in three main areas. First, raising awareness and insisting that the health of our common neighborhood affects the success of American foreign policy's priority is essential. Second, strong and rapid support achieve massive access to the vaccine. And third, a strong economic support to accelerate the economic recovery that allows to reactivate employment, emphasize on greater equity, transparency, and sustainability. In this last point, we have heard that there is an investment being announced by the Biden administration, $4 billion in Central America, and 35% of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation budget to Latin America and the Caribbean, which it will be very important in order to start promoting and helping in the development of the economy of each of these countries. However, it is important that the actions begin to show that the Biden administration commitment to the MFR is more than rhetorical, especially if there is an interest in solving the root causes, as it's being called, of illegal immigration, such as poverty and insecurity. So making how it goes in order to provide the aid and helping in the recovery of this economy, the first thing that have to be emphasized is one, the political will of Latin America and Central America and Caribbean governments to take action. It's very important that there is a willingness and see the results of those actions by the government of the United States. It's a win-win situation for Latin America, Central America, and the Caribbean, as well as the United States to have those actions in place. Accelerate the program of economic support to the region in a strategic sector for economic development, stressing in the diversification of its dependency of primary products. As you know, we as Latin American countries, and Colombia is one of those, we have a very dependency of primary products, and we need to move and diversify our economy. And that's something that the US could help through those investments that can be done, not only by the government, but also by the private sector. As Mac mentioned, there is an important responsibility, or we can say a good way to promote that help in the economies is through the foreign direct investment, and should work hand in hand to achieve complementary in the intermediate products value chain, which can be achieved if there is an encouragement by the US government for companies in this country to invest in Latin America in areas that they can transfer knowledge, technology, and competitivity. Obviously, these have to be hand in hand as well with the clear rules from our countries, and also clear rules for companies regarding US policy to seek international supply in the region that generate confidence to make long-term investment.
Thank you, Maria Claudia. I think excellent points. The importance of a two-way street, the importance of clear rules of the road going forward. Mac, one of the points that Maria Claudia mentioned as well was she mentioned the Development Finance Corporation. We spent a lot of time in our deliberations on this paper looking at how to make the DFC more effective in its ability to finance projects at this critical moment. I want to ask you, Mac, then Maria Claudia, I'm going to turn back to you on stimulating inclusive growth, but Mac, how do you see the U.S. helping to stimulate regional economic recovery through actions that can be both a win for regional economies and for the United States at the same time?
Jason, excellent question. I think the DFC, the Development Commission under Dave Marchick, whom I know well, he worked as a very young person in the Clinton administration. He's had a distinguished career, successful career in the private sector. He will be a strong leader for that important organization. In my view, you've got to have a very coordinated, strong private sector initiative supported by not only the United States government and their agencies, but also this is a perfect time, I think, to really work hand in glove with the multinational organizations, the Development Bank, Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, the IFC. All of that needs to be brought to bear. And Paula brought up, of course, an excellent point about China. We know about China's engagement in the region, but on the multinationals, there may actually be, we'll see how Secretary Blinken's meeting goes with Councilor Jan Jichur in Anchorage this week, but there may be some natural ways for us to work with China, with the multinational or lateral agencies. But it's got to be a strong effort from the private sector, and I think that's certainly not only in our interest, but I think there's some robust opportunities, Jason.
Well, thank you, Mac. Maria Claudia, during the paper deliberations, we discussed some steps that the U.S. can also take to accelerate travel as it becomes safe to do so, including expansion of the pre-clearance program, as well as the opportunities for partnership on new economy projects focused on digital infrastructure, for example. Infrastructure investment, of course, would go hand in hand with stimulating private investment, technical capacities, needed certainty, as you were mentioning, Maria Claudia, and rule of law, and in many instances also addressing corruption. My question to you, Maria Claudia, from your perspective in Colombia, what steps do you see as important for not only Colombia, but maybe even your discussions across the region? What are countries looking to the United States to do to help to accelerate this growth? Where is there the greatest need? And then also in the same regard, how are you maybe seeing, Mac was mentioning China, but how are you seeing extra regional countries, particularly those in Asia, also trying to accelerate their own efforts in the region at this time?
If you allow me, let me add something to the questions that you asked, Mike, if I can.
Please go ahead.
The development, the DFC, because the DFC had previously, on the previous government, a program that it was América Crece, which they started with Colombia, and actually it was very interesting to see that the funds were getting into Colombia. Many of those funds are already invested in our country in strategic areas such as infrastructure and the areas of post-conflict. So I do believe that those investment that was made directly from the government to countries like Colombia to help in the process of promoting the development in areas that they needed was very important. Hopefully, they will continue with the government of the new government with President Biden, because one of the issues that most of Latin American countries needs is investment in those strategic areas that are needed to promote development and reduce corruption. So that will be very important to include and put an emphasis in the needs of the Latin American countries for the United States aid. I just wanted to mention that because we had it last year and it was very important.
Thank you. And then Maria Claudia, what are some specific steps that Colombia and the region are looking to the United States to take to help to accelerate this growth?
Part is what I just mentioned, is to help them in investment in those strategic areas that allows development and at the same time allows the areas that is most needed of development will be help. And the other area that it will be important that we mentioned with MAC is the allow and help in the achieving and having access to the vaccine. Yeah. One of the main issues are, if we do have a massive vaccination in our countries, there will be certainty, and certainty will allow the recovery and reopening of the economies. We will not be able to resist another shutdown of the economy. For example, in Colombia, it will be very hard. We have a very huge number of companies that have been broke, and now at this moment, what they need is they allow them to work, allow them to continue opening, and the only way to do that is to have a massive vaccination process here and access here in our country, and that is for all the countries, Latin America and Central America and Caribbean. That's the main emphasis that we have to push, if we can say that, with the relation with the US, knowing that the US is actually advancing really quick in the vaccination in the United States.